What is up guys, it's your boy Solam here, back with another Classic WoW video for the Burning Crusade on Anniversary servers. Now, today we're going to make a tier list of the classes in the Burning Crusade, and before we even do that, I just want to say that this will be my subjective tier list, based on having played the classes in the Burning Crusade, and also just like how much I enjoyed playing them based on the various activities that I personally do, such as gold farming, leveling, questing, farming in the open world, farming reputation, doing dungeons, and doing raids as well. I will say I don't do a lot of PvP in the game, haven't really done anything in TBC, so feel free to disregard any of this for player versus player combat. I just haven't done any PvP in any expansion, outside of Cataclysm and Mist of Pandaria, and Retail of course. Now, I also just want to give a quick disclaimer that in my opinion you should never base your class off of tier lists alone, and this is just my opinion, right, of the classes as well, and which class you should play depends entirely on what you find fun, and then if you want to optimize it also depends on how you want to play. Like, the best class for gold farming could be a whole different class than the best one for raiding. Alternatively, you might want to have one class for gold farming and a different one for raiding as well. To give a quick example of that, I am planning on farming on a Druid, but for doing raids on a Warlock in the Burning Crusade. Now, while we're talking about gold farming, I have made a gold making guide for the Burning Crusade, which you can check out through the link down below, where you can find the absolute best gold farms and the best ways to make gold in the Burning Crusade from one of the richest people, or richest persons, or gamers, players, whatever, in the Burning Crusade Classic 2021. I made over 200,000 gold in record time simply farming in the open world, crafting and flipping in the Burning Crusade, and you can do the same thing on Anniversary. Alternatively, the market right now is even more crazy than it was back then, so you can make insane amounts of gold, especially at the launch. So check out the guide to the link down below, and if you don't have the Classic WoW guide, you can get both the TBC one and the Classic WoW one together in a bundle for a massive discount. That will also be linked down below. Now let's get into some tier list makings here, and once again, I am making this based on how much I enjoyed playing these classes in various types of content, just like how much I enjoyed this class in TBC tier list, kind of. So let's start with number 1, and by me putting this class into the S tier, you will already notice that this is not going to be a only raiding tier list, as I'm putting Druids into S tier here. Druid is one of my favorite classes in the Burning Crusade, although not for raiding, but even in raiding as well. Like, you are much more wanted now than you were in Classic WoW. Specifically as a boomkin, every single raid wants to have at least one boomkin, but a lot of people simply have more than just one as well. So me, in TBC Classic, I raided on a boomkin, and getting into a guild was not hard at all. People even scouted for boomkins to join their guilds back in the day because they were so wanted for raids. So boomkins, really easy to get raids, but also for gold farming purposes, we have flight form, swift flight form. Boomkin is not longer a meme spec, you can farm as a boomkin, do dungeons as a boomkin, do raids as well as a boomkin. You will never be top DPS unless it's a massive AoE pool, and even then you're gonna struggle to be top DPS, considering Warlocks simply spam Seed of Corruption, and they do way more damage than you can do. But Druids are so versatile, they're good for just about everything. They can tank, they can heal, they can melee DPS, they can be a ranged DPS, and in TBC, by the way, all of those 4 are viable. In Classic WoW, being a feral Druid is kind of a meme, outside of leveling. Boomkin as well is a meme both while leveling and at max level, and rest of the Druids, sure, they're good in raids, but Guardian Druids, or, well, tank feral Druids, are also not really that insane. In TBC though, pretty much all of them become viable in certain aspects. And for gold farming purposes as well, like once again, having access to flight form and swift flight form allows you to pick up herbalism nodes in your flight form and not having to, well, mount up again while flying between nodes. You also have access to prowl, aka stealth, so you can do mana tombs stealth farming, and even hellfire ramparts stealth farming for chests. So being a druid is just really, really good. I mean, simply farming something like mana tombs, by the way, for herbalism plus mining in stealth farm runs is actually really, really good. So being a class that can stealth really helps out in that aspect. So for me, Druids are just way too versatile not to put into the A tier. They're not really the best at anything, almost. I mean, I would say they're the best for gold farming, but outside of that, they're just like really, really good at everything. if that makes sense. Another class that I personally have to put into the S tier is going to be Mage in TBC, and this one is because they're also good at just about everything. We probably are going to see mage boosting in TBC again, and even if they for some reason fix mage boosting in TBC this time, you're still going to be able to AoE farm in the open world, and not just AoE farming. If you deep spec into deep frost spec, or deep freeze frost spec, and single target, like chill bite is it called, like chill bite, giving you a chance to freeze targets when you hit them, you can solo elites really effectively, and there's a special elite farm in TBC that can be insanely good at launch, and mages can do that one so easily. The amount of crowd control you have, both single target and AoE wise, it is insane. Also, mages are a top DPS contender throughout pretty much the entirety of the Burning Crusade, so Mage is also going to be a really solid pick for just about everything, because once again, they're good for dungeons, really good for dungeons by the way, like crowd control, slowing down the mobs, and also being able to make, well, portals, also portals, teleports, and food and water. Food and water, like that aspect is massive, and tables as well, like all of this is massive. Mages are always going to be wanted in every single expansion, and TBC is no different. Mages are insanely good, and once again, if mage boosting is going to be a thing, you can make so much gold simply doing mage boosting. Now, there are two more classes here that I'm personally going to put into the S tier, and one of those is the Hunter. So Hunters to me is a really good class in TBC. I mean, first of all, they are also a top DPS contender on the DPS meters in pretty much every single phase of the Burning Crusade. They start out being great, and they end the expansion also being great. It is a very good class to play in the Burning Crusade in general. They also get their first legendary in the Burning Crusade as well, so that's kinda cool. Hunter is a really solid choice, and also, they're good for just about everything. If you want to do dungeons, they're good for that. They can even solo farm dungeons sometimes. I mean, not heroics of course, but you have a pet tank, so you're basically two people in one person all the time, because you're a hunter, you're the DPS, and you will have a pet that can tank for you just about always. So they're really good for dungeon content, they have traps for crowd control, and they also are really good in raids. Top DPS, good for both single target and for AoE damage, and they're good for farming. If you're farming in the open world, like if you're not farming elites, you can basically farm 24/7, no downtime, and no downtime means more uptime. Also, you can solo farm elites super easily. Number 1, you can kite infinitely, and number 2, you have a pet tank that can tank just about everything for you. So yeah, Hunters is a really solid choice, and once again, a very, very versatile class. Now, I'm also going to put Warlocks up there for just about the same reason as Hunters. They are a top DPS contender through the entire expansion, and they can solo farm with no downtime, and pretty much permanent uptime when farming in the open world. So while they can't do the same AoE farms that mages can, they can pull mobs 2 and 3 at a time, and just like have no downtime. As a mage, you pull 10-15 mobs in one pull, AoE them all down, then you drink for like 30 seconds. As a warlock, you pull 3 mobs at a time, you basically face tank 1, you use your demon on 1, and you fear 1. And while the one that is feared, you damage over time on all of them, and they all just melt. And then you have no downtime, so you go and pull 3 mobs again. So Warlocks just feels incredibly good to farm as in the Burning Crusade. And also, once again, you have a pretty much permanent tank with you at all times, and the crowd control aspect is kind of insane. I will also say that I'm planning to main a Warlock this time in TBC Classic on Anniversary, and I'm looking forward to spamming Seed of Corruption. Now, this right here is where you can see that this is a subjective tier list, and my opinion might be different than yours, because some people here might not put both Hunters and also Druids into S tier, maybe not even Mages either, but they would put something like a Warrior into S tier. For me, Warriors are A tier, and when you look at the DPS meters, Warriors are really good by the way. At least towards the end, they start slapping big time. Also, my cat just climbed in the window, let me just like, there we go, slightly better I think. But yeah, Warriors are really good in TBC, but to me, Warriors are always good at group content, and I feel like that's true pretty much in every expansion, like both in TBC, Wrath, Cataclysm, and Mist of Pandaria. But when it comes to soloing content, farming for example, they are really not the best. And they're really good for raids and for dungeons, but outside of that, I don't find them to be that exciting. That being said, maybe I'm in the minority here, so let me know what you think about warriors in the Burning Crusade in the comments. I will once again say, if this was only a DPS tier list, they would probably be S tier, and especially if it was both DPS tier list and PvP, they would absolutely be S tier, because warriors can absolutely slap in PvP. Next up then we have the Paladin, also going into A tier, and over here I'm going to say Paladins have massively been buffed since Classic WoW. They have a taunt now for protection, retribution, you have Crusader Strike, you have a bunch of more abilities, and it's simply like Paladins feel better. You also have a new seal, right, in TBC as well, so Paladins like in Classic WoW would have been down here, possibly even off the list entirely, but in TBC, suddenly being a Rot Paladin or Ret Paladin is no longer a meme, it's actually viable. So they're decent. I'm not going to say they're really good, but they're decent for raids, especially as Retribution, they're decent. Protection could actually be great as well in certain scenarios, and Holy Paladins, I mean, they're still really good healers. So in general, Paladins are doing good. They're not the best, but they are doing good. And also, for gold farming, they're really good. But the reason why I put them down here and not into S tier is the amount of setup required to be good as a paladin. So as a mage, for example, if you're doing mage boosting, there's not really a lot of setup required. All you have to do is level up, and in some cases, you don't even have to level up. People did slave pens boosting as a naked mage in TBC. I mean, that was demonstrated just to see how easy it would be to do that boosting. So mages is way easier. As a paladin, you need to gear yourself up, get the exact right type of gear to get block chance and parry chance, and then heal yourself based on that as well. It takes a lot more setup to make paladins good, but when paladins are good, they are really good, and having a paladin as a gold farming character is a lot of people's dream in TBC, and to be fair, it's something that I'm going to have as well, a TBC gold farming character later down the line. It's not going to be the main focus, but at some point, I mean, I'm leveling a paladin right now, only for farming purposes in TBC, and I'm currently level 45. Another class going straight into A tier for me is going to be the Rogue, and that is once again because they're pretty good in dungeons, they're pretty good in raids, and also they are extremely versatile when it comes to farming. They can farm decently in the open world, not gonna say great, but decently. They also have access to stuff like Slice and Dice, Evasion, they have Blade Flurry, Adrenaline Rush, but also they can stealth farm in dungeons. Being a rogue, stealth farming in TBC, you can actually make a lot of gold as a rogue, simply stealth farming dungeons, looking for objects, chests, and herbalism and mining nodes inside dungeons. So with that being said, we have two more classes, and the first class going into B tier here is going to be the Priest, and for me it's just the fact that Priest has never been my class, but also they are not that good for soloing content either. They're good in group content, like both Shadow Priest, Shadow Priest now are not a meme. In Classic WoW it's a massive meme, but in TBC it is no longer a meme, so you want to have at least one Shadow Priest, and having one can be greatly beneficial to the group itself, especially raids. But then again, you also have Holy Priest and Disc Priest, and being a priest will never be a bad choice. It is just, to me, it was less enjoyable being a priest in TBC compared to something like Classic WoW, for example, especially as a healer. Because in Classic WoW, being a priest, you are basically quote-unquote the healer, but in TBC I feel like all the healers are basically buffed to the point of being, I don't know, competitive, and there are a couple of classes and healers that have a little bit stronger cooldowns than the priests have. So being a shaman, for example, you can, for example, bring a bloodlust as a shaman, and people tend to stack more shamans than they stack priests, and to me, like, when people need you less, it makes less sense to play the class, at least to me personally. But if you're a Shadow Priest, and Shadow Priest only, it could probably go all the way up here, especially compared to like Classic WoW, because Classic WoW Shadow Priests were not even on this list. Okay, next up then, and the last class is going to be Shamans, and I saved this one for last because their placement here depends a little bit on what Blizzard does this time around, as there have been some comments that might impact Shaman gameplay. So in TBC originally, I started with Shamans here, Because being a shaman felt great, and also enhancement, elemental and restoration are all really fun specs to play in TBC. And also, if you play the shaman early in TBC, I mean, you play pretty much throughout TBC, you had this whole mechanic of swapping shamans between groups to give a bloodlust to certain group members, right? So you had this whole raid composition based on buffing certain people in the raid, and using shamans that way. In Phase 1 and Phase 2, this was kind of fun, until it became super meta gameplay, and you felt forced to do it. So, I don't know, like, it was really fun for a while, until it became cringe. So to me, Shamans started out here when it came to how fun it was to be one, and then went down here later in TBC Classic. That is just for me personally, but gameplay-wise, compared to Classic WoW, I would have to put them somewhere like here. But then we get to TBC Classic Anniversary, and where would they be on Anniversary? Because right now there are some comments about people saying that they really want to have Bloodlust as a raid-wide mechanic instead of only group-wide. So let me know what you think about that in the comments, because that could also impact how many shamans you bring. Let's just say right now, if Bloodlust is group-only, you probably are going to bring 5 shamans, maybe even 6 or 7. You will bring more shamans in one singular raid if it only impacts a group. That being said, if Bloodlust is raid-wide, now you're suddenly going to bring less shamans, unless they're topping DPS, which, spoiler, they are not topping DPS. There are certain boss fights that they're doing really well, but they're not number 1, usually. But either way, for me, I think I'm going to put shamans all the way down here, because when you talk about them, like, sure, they're decent in raids, decent in dungeons, but this time around things could end up being different. And outside of group content, I haven't really ever heard about anyone having a shaman as a gold farming character or a farming character, or simply enjoying doing world content as a shaman. Either way, that's basically my list based on how fun I think the classes are in TBC, and like my personal enjoyment of or how good the classes are in general, not just for raids, but raids, dungeons, PvE, gold farming, leveling, just about everything. So let me know if you are making a similar tier list like this, based on how good the classes are overall. What would your list look like? Let me know in the comments down below, because I would really be extremely interested in seeing your version of this tier list. Either way, I also just want to say that I'm streaming live every single day on kick.com/solheimtv, and you can find the link down below. So I'm live on Kick every single day, streaming both TBC prepping, some Legion remix, some retail, and some classic WoW. Basically anything World of Warcraft related, you will find me every single evening over on Kick. Either way, let me know once again what you think in the comments, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more TBC content. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video very soon.